50th City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
And otherwise, maybe he's got a few other wives, of cruising. He's the cruise master of the group, so we would like to introduce him to come and speak to you.
I guess I can use this. Everybody hear me all right? All right, let's see if I can turn this on. Get me going in the right direction. Whoa, fast. Okay, this is my third cruise talk. I think the first one I talked about just the inclusivity of cruising. Everything is included when you go on cruise, and it makes it a great holiday because you get your food, entertainment, the whole works. So that's what I talked about first. The second cruise I talked about was the special experience that many of us here shared together on the Queen Elizabeth, which was really a special one. Higher, okay. I'm taller than I think. All right, good enough. Thank you. So the third one I'm going to do is what I call some special highs, some special moments, some special aspects of cruising that have become special to me because I've left what I call the honeymoon phase. First thing I'd like to do is warn you that cruising can be addictive. And the reason I say that is because most of you know Ira from around the area. You don't see him very often because he's out cruising. Another experience I'd share with you, I was going on a cruise out of Barcelona on a 14-day, I believe, on Royal Caribbean. I had just gotten on this 3,000-person cruise and was sitting in the back of the ship enjoying my lunch. I had only been on the ship for about an hour. And somebody behind me said, "Roger, is that you? 3,000 people, Barcelona, I don't know anybody. What is going on here?" So it turned out to be a guy from the club who had heard me do the first presentation a year before. He was now a diamond member on Royal Caribbean. As a matter of fact, after this 14-day cruise that he was taking on this ship, he was flying back to Barcelona to take a 17-day cruise to Fort Lauderdale. So, I mean, cruising can be addictive. So I need to warn you up front, if you go on a cruise and you fall in love with it, you may not be able to stop yourself from going on many cruises. Okay, my honeymoon phase of the cruise. I was, again, impressed by how much stuff you could get for $70. And that was originally $70. That was the one I was looking at a long time ago. Right now, I'm looking for $50 and under. There are great cruises out there for $50 per person per day and under. It's hard to find a good hotel in Bangkok for $50, much less the food and everything else that goes with it. So the honeymoon phase, I was impressed. I was impressed with the fact that the accommodations, though compact, were complete and were beautiful. The room on the left is an outside room, and that's a split of champagne that you see sitting on the table right there. The one on the right is an inside room, which you can see is quite nice. The double bed can be split to two singles, so you can share a room with somebody, which I've done on the cruises that I take from Tokyo to Vancouver. The food, obviously, is just everywhere on the ship. You can eat buffets all day long. You can get room service all day long. There are cafes and grills on the ship. If you look at the right-hand side of the picture here, that is probably a surf and turf. There's probably a filet mignon and a giant shrimp. I think it's over mashed potatoes or whatever. That's the typical dinner in the evening. That's probably one of 4 or 5 courses. The nice thing about this dinner and the nice thing about cruising is if I like that and I get through with it, and my partner often does this all the time, if I like that, I can say, "Can I have another one?" And you get another one. Another filet cooked exactly as you want it, and the shrimp and everything. We were on a Carnival ship, and they served twin lobster tails the second night I was on the ship. It was only a 5-day cruise. And the maitre d' came over to our table. It was a table of 10 people, and he said, "What can I do to make your cruise better?" I said, "I want this meal again the last night on the cruise." And sure enough, I was the only one on the 5th night of the cruise that got double lobster tails. On another time, I got the most marvelous New England clam chowder served to me, and needless to say, I had a second one that day. But the waiter, or the waiter that served on our table, and if you go to early or late seating, you've got the same waiter all the time. The next night, I had clam chowder again. He saved one back for me because he knew how much I appreciated it. So the food and the service is plentiful on the ship. World-class entertainment. The group, the quartet on the left, was playing when we got onto the Queen, a group of 4 from Lithuania. And every ship has a group of singers and dancers that are assigned to that ship and do 3 or 4 main Broadway-type musicals throughout maybe a 7 or 14-day cruise. They're assigned to that ship for about 8 months. They practice in their home base, and then they are sent to one ship and they stay there for about an 8-month tour. They normally are marvelous performers. Quality surroundings. Behind me is a painting was commissioned for the very rare event of having all 3 of the Cunard ships in the same port at the same time. This was commissioned. And it's just one example of the marvelous artwork, whether it's vases and sculptures or paintings or murals, all throughout the ship. You're surrounded by beautiful surroundings. And there's always a room. The room on the right is probably in the front of the ship. Those windows look straight out the front. And it's a beautiful place to sit. All first-class quality. As a matter of fact, the ship we're leaving on to go out of Tokyo for Vancouver was just renovated January of this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing it because I've been on the ship before. I haven't seen it renovated. Okay, again, that's looks like the stairway in the Titanic. This actually, the inlaid wood at the top there was done by a relative of the Queen of England. Okay, obviously cruising, the destination, the ships to go places. That ship up in the upper left-hand corner is sitting out in front of a glacier, obviously. They stop in front of the glacier for a half an hour so that you can watch and hear. You can hear the cracking of the ice. You can watch the shelving of the ice. And then they turn the ship around for the people that have outside cabins and verandas on one side. They turn the ship around so that the other side can watch it too. But they actually sit there for an hour. It's the most marvelous experience. And that's a typical map of, I think that's the Barcelona ship the trip I was talking about to Dubai. So why is it so special? Why is cruising unique as far as holiday experiences? Well, as transportation, ships are very hefty. For example, how many have flown on an A380? Big airplane. 747s, big airplane, right? 510 tons, over 1 million pounds at takeoff, including fuel and maybe 450 people on board. It's a big plane. When you're standing next to it, it's a big plane. However, compared to the ship, this ship, the Queen, weighs 91,000 tons. 91,000 tons compared to 510 tons. That's 178 A380s. And this is a relatively small ship compared to the Royal Caribbean fleet. Some of the Royal Caribbean ships are 228,000 tons. There's only 223 A380s flying now. And one ship is equivalent to about 178 of them, weight-wise. But the key thing here is, as a city, ships are compact. Bangkok is, 1,569 square kilometers? But a ship, 300 meters long, 50 meters wide, 13 decks high, all connected by elevators. No steps. If you don't want to take a step on a ship, you don't have to, but you can get everywhere on the ship that you need to. A ship is indeed a city. It's your home, except that somebody else makes your bed for you. It's a restaurant, and multiple restaurants, as I talked about. It's your gala evening event. It's your local watering hole. Normally on a ship there may be 7 or 8 or 9 bars scattered throughout, and almost everybody picks one as their own special place. By the middle of the cruise, you find people, the same people hanging out at the same bars all the time because they pick their favorite watering hole. And it usually comes with small group music or an individual doing music. The ship as a city is your gym, your sports field, your sauna, a steam room, your shopping mall. Whether you're looking for toiletries, trinkets to bring home as far as things to remember the cruise by, or whether you're talking about quality clothing, smells, jewelry, you can all find it on the ship. And they do have sales. It is your casino, your bingo hall, your library, your game room, your spa with hairdos, you can work on weight loss, and a private trainer. It's your transportation to ports of call and a medical facility. It really is a city, but it's a city that you can get to easily. So the key is, and this is the cool part, the key is access. Let me just read something I've got in my pocket here. Last weekend, I went to the Whitman concert. Anybody go to the Whitman concert? I know, I announced it here. The Whitman are a group of a cappella singers from Yale who dress in tuxedos and sing without any instruments. They just do a cappella. I went down to do that, I went down to watch that concert, I think it was last Friday. In the process of doing that, I spent 32 hours away from my condo. I spent $80. I took 4 bot buses to get to the bus stations. I took 2.5-hour bus rides there and back. I did 8 train rides while I was down in Bangkok. I went scores of steps up and down, many of them on the BTS. I did lots of walking, and I had 5 sort of okay meals. But the key thing here, and this is where I want you to get the point of access, I forgot my MRT half-price senior card. I didn't know that until I was on the bus to Bangkok. Guess what? I wasn't going to go back and get it. But if I were on the ship, and I've done this quite often, I've gone to dinner and forgot my glasses, and you can't read the menu without the glasses. So you take that 7-minute walk back to your room, and you get your glasses, and you go back. I just looked at the seating chart for the cruise I'm taking next month on the Millennium. And we are on a veranda, which is 15 steps away from the forward elevator. The elevator is 2 floors away from the gym and the indoor pool. I walk another 100 meters and I'm on the buffet, a huge buffet at the whole end of the ship. I can go down 6 floors and I'm where all the main entertainment for the ship is. I'm talking about access. And if in the middle of the afternoon I want to take a nap, might be hard to do if you're on a cruise or on a tour in Bangkok to go back to your hotel to take a nap. However, if I want to do it on the ship, no more than a 7-minute walk back to my bedroom, where my bed has been made, by the way, already, and I lie down for a 15 or 20-minute nap and change for dinner. Try to do that on one of these trips outside your hotel area. So access, I think, is probably the key to why cruising, you get all the advantages of a city and a whole lot more, but it's all at your fingertips, easy access. In the evening, I go to dinner and walk maybe 7 or 8 minutes to get to a 5-course meal. I walk the other way to the other end of the ship where I have a gala entertainment, and then I could spend some time in one of the small bars with a small combo for 2 or 3 hours in the evening, maybe with an after-dinner drink or 2, and then I can, even if I get drunk, I can stumble at 5 minutes back to my room and fall on the bed. Everything is easy access in cruising. That's one of the key points. I just want to share some memorable stops. This is one of the first stops, and I'm really disappointed with the quality of the picture here because the fish that I went snorkeling. And I went to St. Thomas. I think it was a Carnival ship out of Miami. And it was the first time we were on the ship. I'd done a snorkeling, the tour that they offered. I loved snorkeling. They took us to a very quiet lagoon, and the reef was right next to the surface, and you could cruise. You could just go right over to them, and your face mask in there. They gave us some dog food, and you held dog food in your fingers, and all these fish like this, but very brightly colored, orange and green and blue, and it's just marvelous. And they are right there under your mask, and you're feeding them, and they're literally on your fingers. And it was just a marvelous experience. The other thing I hadn't done is used fins. The fins allow you to swim very fast. I love swimming back across this lagoon, this bay, 3 or 4 times, hearing the water rustling across my ears. They had a hard time getting me out of the water. I was the last one out. I did a John Fishback, and I was the last one, and they begged me, please, please get out of the water. I didn't want to. I was like a kid stuck in heaven, stuck in Disneyland, and I didn't want to leave. But that was one of the first experiences I had on a place off the ship. I'd like to talk a little bit about Nagasaki. If you'll notice on the left-hand picture, the proximity of the ship to where I am. Nagasaki was an ideal stop for a shipboard place because of the proximity of where you can get to off the ship. We walked off the ship, and probably less than 100 meters, there was a trolley system, very much like the one in San Francisco. And we just got on the trolley. We went and we actually changed because I did some homework and I knew we had to change trolleys to get to where I wanted to go. We went to the Peace Park, and then we walked from the Peace Park. They actually had escalators going downhill to where I am on the right here. That is point 0. That's ground zero for the atomic bomb that blew up in Nagasaki. And I had an opportunity to pray for peace right there. And behind me is the Atomic Museum. We spent the morning doing all of this. Then we took the trolley back to our boat, our security, our place we'd be, and we had lunch, which obviously was already paid for. And then we got off the boat for the afternoon and went onto this beautiful garden, a terrace garden that went all the way up the hill behind where I'm sitting right here. And for about, I think it was like $6 or $7, we got to enjoy the beauty of this park for the rest of the afternoon. You can see it's shirt sleeve weather and the boat's proximity. We walked off the top of the hill here and just walked right back to the boat. So this was an ideal stop for a cruise ship. The next one is Alaska, and I can blame Jerry for this one. Is Jerry here? Jerry's there? Yeah, Jerry's over there, okay. We took, about 3 years ago, I think it was, we took the trip from Tokyo to Vancouver. And we just didn't want to be on a plane. It was an opportunity to travel across the ocean without being on a tube for 12 hours. So I happened to be sitting next to a stewardess on a shuttle bus out of Narita. And I told her, she asked, what are you doing here? I said, I'm going to take a cruise. I said, oh, well, where do you live? I live in America. And we thought it would be nice to go across the pond on a cruise instead of taking a flight. Well, as a stewardess, she's going, well, that's interesting. So let me get this straight. You're going to take a 14-day cruise so you can avoid a 12-hour flight. Is that what you're telling me? I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. I said, and I realized then that I really am a retired person. When you can start thinking that 14 days on a cruise boat is better than 12 hours on a plane, you know you're retired. Anyway, Jerry calls me about 2 months before we get on the boat to Vancouver, and he says, Roger, do you realize there's a ship leaving for Alaska the day that we arrive? And I said, and Jerry, what is your point? He said, we should be on it. I said, wait a minute. We're going to take a 14-day cruise. We want to get off the boat. We're going to walk across the terminal. We're going to get on another boat. He said, yeah, that's what we should do. This 7 days, and the weather was exactly like this for all 7 days and all 4 of our stops. It was probably one of the best off-the-ship cruises that I'd ever been on. So I thank you, Jerry. I'm publicly thanking you for that suggestion right here and now. But you can see the weather is perfect. There's a glacier behind me. This is in Juneau, I believe, and we did take a tour. It was only $40 or $50, but this is an ideal stop too because it's almost all the stops in Alaska. The boat pulls right into the city that you're going to be exploring, so you don't have to take an expensive tour off the boat. You just walk off the boat and you're right there amidst the culture that you're supposed to be in. Okay, this is the heart of what I wanted to say today. These are impressions. The next 5 slides are going to be pictures without captions on them. The first 2 I want you to look at, and I want you to think what impression you got. And if you want to yell out your impression, you're certainly free to do that. The third one I'm going to help you out a little because there's 2 pictures. I can't really give you the impression of what happened without telling you in relation to the pictures you're going to see. But there's going to be 5 slides here that represent special moments or opportunities or times to me on cruising. Okay, what do you see? Gala, okay. Highbrow, putting on the dog. Okay. Dressing up. This is on the Queen. There was a captain's welcome party, and I got to take my tuxedo. I bought a tuxedo here. I had it made here for my youngest daughter's wedding because it was almost the same price to have it made here as it would be to rent it in the States. So I had one made here. But I've only worn it one time in Thailand. Out at the Royal Cliff, they had a function that I thought I could wear it at. But I've worn it quite a few times on ships because you always have gala nights, captain welcome parties, and dress-up nights. And there are a lot of people that put on the dog. And most of the time I walk around the ship with a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, quite frankly. If you see me during the day, you're going to say, who is that? Is that the same guy that was in tux the last night? I said, yes, it is. But sometimes I just like to put on the dog. And so ships offer the opportunity to dress up and play prince and princess, which is really cool. Okay, what do you see? Yes. Relaxed. See it? One of the best things I like to do on a ship is to go down to the promenade deck, which is usually the deck underneath the lifeboats, usually close to the water, within 2 or 3 decks of the water. I like to pull a chair out, or get one if they don't have it. They'll give you a chair, and put it against the railing, and take my shoes off, put my feet up, and listen to the water being swished away from the bow as it goes forward. The water turns over itself and gets foam depending on how big the waves are. And sometimes if the light is right, you'll see little mini rainbows popping off the top. I can sit there for 3/4 of an hour to an hour to an hour and a half and just enjoy the sound of the water and the peace of being at sea. That's a very special time for me. And he's obviously taken this to heart. He's got his bathrobe on. He's looking very relaxed, which for him is unusual because he's always doing something. He's always puttering around the house, fixing and cleaning and doing something, going somewhere, talking to somebody. For him, this is relaxed, and it draws that picture. This right here, this is a Royal Caribbean ship on the upper right-hand side, and this is a sunrise. And this, if you see where the helipad is on the ship, as a matter of fact, I do have this little point right here. This helipad right here. You can actually, one of the things I like to do on every ship that I'm on is see how far forward I can get with nothing between me and the wind in my face. On this particular ship, on this class of Royal Caribbean ships called I think it's the Voyager class, you can actually walk up right to here and you can do the Titanic pose, right? Right on the bow. And you can look straight down and you will see the water right below your feet. They have bolted chairs right here, benches, so that you can sit there for as long as you want, have the wind beating your face. Well, the moment I want to tell you about is on this particular ship, I think it was the Mariner, this is the Mariner. We were cruising down the inlet waterway toward Kuala Lumpur. It was 5:30 in the morning. There were 4 of us on this rail right here. 4 out of 2,500 people on board. And we were watching the sunrise. And the boat was slipping quietly through the water. You could hardly hear anything. Once in a while, the silence was breached by the sound of a bird off in the distance. But other than that, it was absolutely quiet. And the ship was moving ghost-like down the river. And I sat there, and of course, the mouth that I am, I had to say something, right? And there's 4 of us there sitting in silence, and I just said to myself more than anybody else, I said, you know, this is the best part. And the guy standing next to me said, you're absolutely right. This is the best part. 4 of us enjoyed that sunrise out of 2,500. You can see why this is a special moment for people like crazy people like me that have gotten over the entertainment, have gotten over all the food extravaganza, have gotten over all the activities, and I have sought out and seek the special moments that I can find on a ship. Oops. Okay, this picture, this is on the Holland America cruise, and I put this in here because when you come back from a day off the ship and you come onto the ship, and You hand your little card to the security guy and he goes beep, and you're on the ship again. There's a sense of being back home. There's a sense of belonging. There's a sense of security that's very difficult to put your finger on, but it's very, very special when you come back onto a ship after a long day of activity off the ship, whatever you've done. And I think this picture just represents that quietness, that coming back onto the ship, just relaxing, or going back to the food trough, going back upstairs and getting yourself a drink and a dessert or something before dinner, just relaxing, reminiscing on the day, and just being secure in the realm of the ship. And I have just one more. What do you notice is missing from this picture? Thank you. People. And one of the things that I've discovered about being on a boat at port, where you don't want to be where the port, you've already seen the port, especially on the ports where the place of interest is at least a 2-hour drive away. There are 3 to come to mind. Kuala Lumpur, it's a 2-hour drive. Hanoi, 2-hour drive. Ho Chi Minh City, 2-hour drive. There's a couple other ones. But they're a 2-hour drive. That means the people that are going on the tours are going to leave the boat early, and they're going to be gone all day, and they're not going to come back till about 4 o'clock. That means the whole boat is yours. All those special seats that you had a hard time getting because there's so many people on the boat, they're yours. The pool is yours. The steam room is yours. The whirlpool is yours. All the food specialties are yours. You can ask for that special sandwich because you're not rubbing shoulders with 14 other people trying to get the same opportunity. So I have discovered in my years of cruising that this is a wonderful time. All those people, I sit there and watch all the people panic at breakfast because they got to shove something down their throat and get downstairs and get on their tour. And I'm going, yes, get off my boat. Get off my boat. I love it. Anyway, those are the 5 special times. Those are the treasures that I've shared with you. They're really, really special places or times or positions on the boat that have become special to me, far beyond the inclusivity of everything that's offered. Okay, it's also nice to have good company. I think we're on the Queen here, and obviously Richard and Janet and Touch and I. And here we are enjoying a formal dinner, which I love. I always put on the dog. And of course, sunsets are a good time, a good excuse for being at sea no matter what. And thanks for your attention. Are any questions? Question in the back.
Roger, you've talked a lot about the things that you've seen and the entertainment and so forth, but what I found was basically missing was your contact with other people on the boat. What impressions did you have of the people you met, and did you find anything common about any of them?
Yeah, good. It's a good question. Thank you, Lenny. There's a particular cruise that comes to mind when it comes to people. There was, I think, a cruise from Singapore to Dubai on a celebrity ship, and I sat with, there was 12 of us at a table that was right in the corner next to the window in the back of the ship. And 9 of the people at the table were Australians, and there were 2 Americans and somebody from somewhere else. The socialization we had was just great. These people were solid gold. Now, I've never contacted any of them after the cruise, okay? But during the cruise, we loved each other's company. We really did. And all the sharing of telephone numbers and emails and whatever at the last night were all sincerely felt from the heart, but probably not ever going to really be followed out. So I think the nice thing about people's attitude on the boat is they're on vacation. So almost everybody, there's an occasional crab that you'll run into, but most everybody on the ship wants to be there, they're having a good time, and are willing to talk to you and to share experiences. So socialized, you don't need to bring anybody with you to have a lot of contact on the ship. And if you're on a 14-day cruise, you will probably make friends with a small group of people that you will see coming and going on the cruise, and you'll get that sense of family. sort of. But it doesn't last past the ship, I found. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Thanks for that. That's good. I've been on quite a few cruises myself, and the picture of the pool and nobody else on board, I would agree with you that that's probably the best time on the ship. The other time is a good time on the ship if you go to the upper decks where the bars are early in the morning when they're closed. Quite often you can go up there and be alone and you've got a good view, you see people jumping in the pool or whatever. Something to try if you've never done this on a cruise, and you might be up for it because you've done enough of them, is the behind the scenes tours.
I did that, yeah.
You've done that?
Yeah.
Because I did one, and I was up on the bridge steering the boat, talking to the captain, down in the engineering room, the print shop, the medical, the whole thing, the stuff you never see, and it's quite interesting. And again, we only do that on sea days, but
It's amazing how much of the ship is behind doors that you never go into.
well, you talked about the floating city, and you probably only listed a third of the things that are actually in that city, things you don't think of that are in there to make the boat
Yeah.
function. The waste reclamation, the top shelf liquor room was interesting. It's like a walk-in fridge full of nothing but top shelf liquor. It's stuff you've never seen.
Just view of the kitchen. Just a view of the kitchen. It's unbelievable.
And they make a special dish for us when we went through the kitchen, saw the vats of soup that were like the size of these tables. It's quite
Extraordinary, yes, so different. Yeah, it's amazing that you can get such special treatment as an individual at a table when you know that there's 2,000 people being served some kind of a meal sometime during that mealtime.
Right, there's also 2,000 people on the boat providing that level of service.
Yep, at least usually for every 2 people on board, there's probably a crewman serving somewhere on the ship. Up at the front table.
As a former executive with Admiral Cruises and training consultant for Carnival and Norwegian Cruise Lines, I want to compliment you on an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I'm not cheating here. This is exactly the way I feel too.
Yeah.
I mean, my faith is probably the most important thing in my life, but as far as things on earth, this has really captured my attention.
See that.
Cruising.
One reason it hasn't captured mine is I have a weight problem. So every time I go on a cruise line, I actually jog around the ship. And I have a hard time.
Can I tell you a story about that?
So I don't go on with it because
I'll tell you a story
But
about
my
that.
favorite
Oh,
part
okay.
is different than yours. My favorite part is the people. What you showed right at the end. Even though you're not going to keep in touch with them, it's just a wonderful camaraderie and
It's warm.
experience.
Yeah.
Because there are round tables like we have here, which is very smart too. That's my comment. What do you do about the eating?
Yes, okay. Silverberg asked me about that. He said, how do you keep the weight off on the ship? I'm just afraid of doing that. I said, this is really interesting. Okay, when you go on board the ship, for example, I just came off a Costa cruise in February. I ate my head off, and believe me, they had every kind of pasta. It was an Italian ship. They had every kind of pasta you could ever want, and they served 4 or 5 different kinds at every meal, and there was no meal that you could not get spaghetti in. None. I ate like a pig. Now, the first 2 days you eat, you're closed. You can feel it, okay? But then your metabolic rate catches up, okay? And you start spending a lot of time in the toilet. So you're depositing as much as you're taking in. And believe it or not, I only gained, now catch this, I gained 0.2 of a kilo at the end of that 2-week trip of stuffing my face. Now, what's even better, because I'm off the ship and back onto my normal diet, I lost 2.5 kilos in the next 3 days. Because my body said, well, where's all the food? What's going on here? And my metabolic rate was still high, so I burned 2.5. So I actually lost 2 kilos going on the cruise. So
your answer is you don't gain weight.
I don't gain weight on the cruise, no.
Yes, nice presentation, and I understand you perfectly. Well, you were talking about addiction, but you did not say how much you are addicted and how many cruises have you done.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, to prove that it's an addiction, I don't know how many cruises I've been on, all right? I lost track. I don't keep them. But the addiction, I think the illustration I used at that same point was that guy that called my name that was on the ship. He was a diamond member. You know how many, you have to be on the ship 100 nights to be a diamond member. He was a diamond member in 1 year. He had never cruised before he heard my first presentation on cruising. At the end of the year, he's banging on my back going, "Hey, is that you?" And I said, "Well, what are you doing here? What's going on?" He said, "I'm a diamond member on Royal Caribbean now, and it's because of you." So, addiction. It can be addictive. And it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, all the repositioning cruises that are going all around the world, whether you're repositioning from the Middle East to Alaska, or you're going from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, or you're going from the Mediterranean to Asia, or to South America, there are repositioning cruises that are cheap, $50 per person per day or less. And there's not too many ports, so there's not a lot of port charges, the taxes are low, so you can be on the ship very cheaply.
Roger, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Just this morning in the news, there was a report of a Norwegian ship that lost power with 8-meter waves and having to pull all off with helicopters. Have you experienced bad weather too?
Yes, I was on a Carnival cruise ship. We were taking a 5-day out of Jacksonville. We had gone to Key West, and while I was in Key West, we're doing a bar hop thing. It was really cool. We just got blown away for like $40. They gave us a T-shirt. It was a neat afternoon. Anyway, the last bar I was at, the guy said, "Well, you may not get back." I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He said, "Remember Sandy? It was Hurricane Sandy, I think it was, the one that ruined New York. Hurricane Sandy was over the Bahamas. That was our next day's stop." Okay, so I thought, well, I'm on a ship. You know, what could be bad, right? So we didn't stop at the Bahamas because literally the eye of the storm was directly over the Bahamas where we were going to stop. So we just cruised around Florida. The waves were big enough to put the ship in. I'm telling you. I mean, standing at the rail and looking at the waves, the troughs were just awesome. They were just amazing. And people were walking around, grabbing a post, and then staggering over to another post and holding on to things. It was great. I loved every minute of it. But there were a lot of people that got really sick. There were some people that had, you know how you put the patch on? There's some people that had 3 or 4 patches on. You couldn't walk up a stair. I mean, it was like, you're walking up the stairs, you weren't sure if you're going to get there. But I loved every minute of it. And ironically, I never felt a sense of danger. Because the ship was relatively stable, even though it was, and because they have all these stabilizers now, so the ship never does this, but it will go down at the bow, up and down at the bow and stern. It will do that a lot. And if you want to see how bad the ship is, just sit up in the front of the ship and watch the bow go down below the right, and then watch it come back, watch it down, you go, whoa, this is really bad. But to answer your question, no, I've never felt endangered on a ship. But that was the worst weather that we've gone through was Hurricane Sandy.
Hi, Rod.
Hi.
You obviously enjoyed cruising.
I'm glad I gave you the right impression anyway.
You have actually, yeah. I did a lot of cruising in my time. In fact, 22 years. All free with the Royal Navy. Yeah, and I made lots of friends, exactly what you were saying. But once we moved off the ship, probably never saw them again.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I didn't enjoy sometimes is the horrendous seas I went through. And I do realise these big ships talk about. I was on an aircraft carrier in the China Sea and we hit the edge of a typhoon. We were like a blasted up and down like a cork. It's the first time I've ever been seasick in my life. And when we got into Singapore, the actual front of the aircraft was stowed in, and so were the gun rails bent over. So you can get horrendous seas. That is the one down. If you suffer with seasickness, you do have this problem. Is that correct?
Yes, there were a lot of people that we didn't see for dinner during that salmon operation. A lot of people didn't come.
I made a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, believe it or not, the new Royal Caribbean ships are bigger than aircraft carriers, weight-wise. They're bigger than aircraft carriers weight-wise. Because we think of an aircraft carrier as being like a big city, huge. But it's mostly deck and empty space, even though it looks big. So yeah, the new Royal Caribbean ships are heavier than aircraft carriers.
I used to be a ship's engineer for many years in my younger days, and I've never experienced engine stopping whilst I was on that ship. So don't worry about it. It doesn't happen very often.
Well, on most of the ships, the last ship I was on, we had talked by the engineer. And it's amazing how much more fuel you burn just by going another 5 knots of speed. It's just extraordinary. It almost doubles your fuel. You do 15 knots and you burn this much fuel. You do 22 knots and you burn twice the fuel for that extra 7 knots. So that's why they like to plan their stops so that they don't have to speed run between places. But he shared with us that there were 2 turbines that were the main engines, and then they had a backup diesel. So the chances of running out of power completely on a ship, probably pretty rare. Probably pretty rare. Okay.
Roger, thank you very much for a terrific talk. 2 questions on costs. Internet and bars, please.
Internet and bars. Internet meaning?
Using your internet on the ship.
Oh, yeah, okay. I like to pride myself, being chief traveler that I am, I like to pride myself by measuring a ship by how many free drinks I get on the ship. Now, I'm guaranteed if a captain has a welcome party, you're going to get 2 or 3 drinks on the welcome party. You normally, if you're a multiple cruiser on one cruise line, you will get a party thrown for you saying welcome back, and then you'll get several drinks on that. They normally have they have places that art auctions where you can get free champagne. There are a lot of opportunities on the ship to get free champagne. Now, the drinks at the bars can be very expensive. As a matter of fact, the last ship I was on, they were very expensive. I forget what ship it was, but I think the cheapest cocktail was like $10.95. It's just crazy. So, and that's why people buy drink packages. Because even though you're paying $60 a day, if you're a drunk and you're paying $11 a drink, you only need to drink 6 drinks. I can't believe I'm really saying that. You only need a drink. But now the drinks aren't just alcoholic. You can get specialty coffees. You can get nice fruit beverages. So there's a lot of things you can get on the drink packages. But yeah, people buy drink packages because the drinks are so expensive. A lot of the ships, the smaller ships, the drinks are like $6.95, $7.95. And almost all ships have a happy hour. So and I know on the Millennium, the happy hour is between 4 and 5. I've already planned my time. I know what the seat I'm going to be in, what side of the ship I'm going to be on, and what drinks I'm going to order during every day's happy hour for that cruise already. But in a happy hour, you buy 1 drink free. Okay, so and you can buy as many as you want. You buy 10 drinks and get 10 more drinks for free. If you're a Diamond member, they have a portion of time set aside for you and a special bar set aside for you that you can get your drinks for free for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. You just go in and you just order whatever you want because you've earned it. Because to be a Diamond member, you got to have 100 nights at sea already on that cruise line. Internet. Internet's a real problem. Internet's very expensive at sea. They really haven't figured it out. The new ships are better than the old ones. The new ships, the internet's faster and it's more readily available. However, it is not cheap. I went on, I think it was Royal. I'm pretty sure it was Royal. Now, when I get on a ship, in order for me to communicate with touch here, I use line, okay? And line, I can type up all my messages and queue up all my pictures before I'm even online. I just queue them up. And then I get online and there's a little circle and I go click, 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 click. And in about 45 seconds, I can send all my messages, all my pictures, receive all my messages and all my pictures. About 45 seconds a day. Well, Royal Caribbean had a per minute package up to about a month before I got on the ship. Then what they did is, if you ordered any internet time, from the time that you ordered the first one, you are obligated to buy that package for the rest of the trip. So if you pay $20 a day for so many minutes, after the first day, you were obligated to pay $20 a day. So I was irate. And I went down to the non-information desk and I said, look, I need to talk to somebody. This is ridiculous. And so the housing officer came to my room and I explained to him what I do with Lyme, that I need at the most 2 minutes a day, every other day. And you expect me to pay $20 a day for that? That's ridiculous. I am not going to do it. And I'm not going to shut up until I find out why your policy has changed from having a per minute to having this stupid package thing where you're forcing people to buy the internet. And even then, the internet's not fast. The internet's not fast. You sit there for 20 minutes to write one email on your Gmail account. It's crazy. It's just outrageous. Anyway, he sat there and he said, okay, I understand. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I don't know why we changed our policy. We had a per minute policy up to about 2 months ago. I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to give you 100 minutes. I'm going to give you a special code that you're going to sign in on the computer, and I'll give you 100 minutes. That should last your whole 14 days here. And he did. He said, but please, do not tell anyone that I told you this, okay? I don't want anyone else coming to my desk saying, well, Roger said, you're gay him. And I says, okay, trust me, I will. Mum's the word. I will not even tell my roommate. As a matter of fact, I think, Jerry, you and I were on that ship together. I think it was the Barcelona ship, so I didn't even tell Jerry. But Jerry was trying to do emails. He was trying to email people. He said, I got a stupid email. It's so slow. It's so expensive. And I'm going, yeah, it sure is slow, isn't it? It's really hard. And in the meantime, I'm doing all this free internet stuff, and I'm not telling him about it. It was good but bad at the same time.
Very good presentation.
Thank you.
I've been on 20-some cruises. But now if I want to go on a cruise as an old man, which is the cheapest way? Could I go to a travel agent? Would you recommend they could just book all this stuff for me, or how would I go about that?
I strictly use Vacations to Go. I have found that Vacations to Go's format, they have a window where you can put in time frames, you can put in cruise areas, you can put in cruise lines, you can even pick out individual ships. If you have a ship that I'm only going to be on this ship the rest of my life, you can find out what its schedule is for any time frame you put in that window. And you hit click and all the cruises that meet the criteria that you put in that window will show up. And then you click another button in the upper right-hand corner. It will tell you the per day price on the right-hand column, which is what I do. I go down and if I find anything less than $100, I'll look at it. Anything above $100, I won't look at it. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'll look at the ones that say $1,300. That's $1,300 per person per day. And I'm going, what kind of gold-plated ship would you have to be on for this? So I'll click on one of those to see if it's worth it. It's not worth it. Are you kidding? $1,300 a day? Yeah, you're a rich guy. You got to be wanting to burn money. But Vacations to Go is the best way to check as many cruise lines and as many cruise ships in a particular area in a particular time frame that you're looking for. And you can check that every single day until you get the price that you want and the place that you want. That's my recommendation. Vacations to Go. Yeah, just put it in the search engine, Vacations to Go, it'll pop right up.
The two things you just talked about, the internet. The problem with the cruise ships is internet's delivered by satellite, which is the internet of last resort. You don't want to use it unless you have to. So your best bet is to wait till you're in a port and get the free Wi-Fi and do it that way, rather than do it on the ship. As far as drinks go, if there's a cruise line out of Europe called Pullman Tour, they include all your booze for free and all your tips for free, so it's not a bad deal, but English speaking is rare on those boats, but it's another way to go.
I took 2 Pullman Tour cruises 2 years ago. One out of the Canary Islands and one out of Lisbon. That they both ended up in Cologne, Panama. So yeah, and I agree. All the drinks were free. The first day I tested that theory, I had 9 drinks the first day. I said, "Is this for real?" And I had pina coladas, and I had Cokes, and I had specialty orange juices, and I had everything. And so after the first day, the second day I had 5. Because when you know you can have them, then you don't get them. So I think I probably ended up with maybe 4 or 5 drinks a day. I had 2 pina coladas after lunch in the afternoon. It was wonderful. It was just wonderful. But you're right, Pullman Tour. And what they do is they buy ships from Royal Caribbean and other places. They just repaint the hull, put their name on it, and you can tell it's a Royal Caribbean ship because it's got the Voyager Lounge right in the back, the smokestack.
There's a smaller retirements.
Yeah, right. And they do speak English, although the entertainment is mostly in Spanish. So yeah, you're right about that.
And do we have more time for questions?
Just curious, what's your experience with the mandatory tipping? Most of these cruises, they seem to hose you with the tipping thing.
Well, yeah, okay. That's interesting. When I first started cruising, tipping was put in envelopes, okay? And they discovered that that was a pain in the rear end, and that your waiter and assistant waiter and your room steward, the guys that do the most work on the ship, do not get paid. They have no salary. What they get is tips only. So with the envelope system, they were discovering, first of all, it was very inconvenient because a lot of people didn't have cash on board the ship. They didn't know where to get it, and so they didn't leave a tip even though they may have wanted to. So what they've gone to is when you check in, they'll ask you for a cash deposit or a credit card. The credit card is a backup because on the ship there's no money. You don't use money on the ship, you use your chip card. Every time you buy a drink or buy something, they use the ship card, they scan it, and it goes against your account, whether it's a cash account or whatever. And that's true of gratuities. Now, in this modern age, you can actually look at your bill online every day and see, I've been charged gratuities, $13.50 a day. I bought a great bracelet, I bought a towel, I bought this, I bought that. So you can see a day-to-day running of it. I've never had a problem with a credit card on the ship, and it's the easiest way to do it. And I feel like the people that wait on you hand and foot. Now you gotta remember, when you get off the ship, if I'm on a 14-day cruise, I get on the ship as close to noon as I can. Why? Why am I getting on there? So I can eat lunch, right? That's why you get on there, you can eat lunch. When you get off the ship, your last meal is the breakfast on the last day that you're on the ship. Well, those people that served you breakfast and the people that are making up the room for the new person, they don't get a break. It's not anything new for them. A whole new crowd. 2,000 people get off by 10 o'clock in the morning. 2,000 people get on by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. For the people that are waiting on the ship, they get no breaks. They're working hard in your cabin, and they're working hard at your table to wait on you hand and foot. And their attitudes are amazingly wonderful. I mean, I think of myself doing that, and I go, wow, I really kicked that guy because he had a bad attitude or whatever. And they're always nice. They're always nice. So I don't mind the tipping, the mandatory tipping, and it's not mandatory. And let me tell you, let me add an addendum to that. If, for example, you had bad service, let's say your room steward said, screw you every day when you got up, and he didn't make your bed right, and he purposely, left your towels on the floor. I mean, first of all, I can't imagine any of that ever happening, but let's say you did have bad service, and you wanted to make a point. You can go to the non-information booth and say, look, I know you've got my credit card, but I reject the service that I've gotten. I don't want you to take out more than $5 a day instead of the $14. I want to punish these people for doing it. And they'll do it. Or you can be a real SOB and you can say, I don't want to pay any tips at all. I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to put it in envelopes, I don't want you to take it out. And they will honor that request. Because not enough people are cheating the system to worry about it at this point.
Well, sir, how much does your 14 days cruise you talk about cost? Economy class?
Yeah, well,
because I'm not afford.
It's not economy class this time. Because we're taking a repositioning cruise, and because I waited and watched this price drop down, we are getting a veranda, okay? As far as quality, the lowest is an inside cabin and an outside cabin, and even within those cabin rates, they have obstructed view, fully obstructed view, partially obstructed view, fully open view. So even within the rates, they have different levels. But we're getting a veranda on the 8th deck, like I say, about 15 steps. And we are getting that for, I think it was $47 a day per person. $47 a day for a balcony on a 5-star ship that's just been renovated. And And even the girl at Vacations to Go was kind of surprised. She said, they're giving you free gratuities. That's a $200 bonus in your pocket because the gratuities would be $14 a day times 14 days. And they're paying for that. So you subtract that from the price of the room, and I'm really only paying probably $37 a day for a balcony. So in the Pullman Tour cruise you mentioned, I paid $30 as a single for an outside cabin for 14 days with all drinks included. That's crazy. That's just insane.
First class or second class? Economy class?
Well, they don't have classes. They have different levels of cabin. So if you're getting the cheapest cabin on board, you're going to get an inside cabin without a window. And then the next category is an outside cabin with a window. The next category up from that is an outside cabin with a veranda. And then they have a suite, and then they have royal suites and bigger and bigger. And they don't have very many of those. So the newer ships are building lots of balconies. Like there's more balcony, there'll probably be more balcony rooms on the newer Royal Caribbean ships than there are inside cabins. Because they want to encourage people to go out. And trust me, this is like, it's like a warning sign. Once you tasted the outside cabin, once you tasted the balcony, it's hard to go back to the inside cabin again. So that, it really is addictive, even for those of us who cruise a lot. It's hard for us to take an inside cabin when you can see the ocean every day and wake up to the sunlight.
Yeah, nice to be.
Yeah. Stu?
Raj, when's your book coming out?
I suppose I should, that might be a nice thing to write about, because I do have a lot of experience. As a matter of fact, I had some wonderful food experiences that I didn't share. On that ship where I was with the Aussies, where we had that wonderful experience, we had filet mignon one night. It was Chateaubriand. Yeah, Chateaubriand. I don't like beef, okay? And I asked the waiter, I said, is this going to be tender? I mean, I hate tough beef. I don't like beef anyway, but it was tough. I really don't like it. He said, it's to die for. I said, well, okay. So I had it literally to pull it apart with your fork. It melted in your mouth. It was wonderful. I made the mistake of saying, this meat would be great on a breakfast sandwich. And the waiter, he was on the other side of the table. He said, what's your room number? I said, okay, my room number is so-and-so. He had a plate with a cover on it with bread, mayonnaise, and the meat sent to my room so I could have it for breakfast the next day. I'm telling you, I don't mind paying the gratuities to these guys. You see what I mean? Yeah.
So, about the internet on a cruise ship or to leaving Thailand, there's a good thing to buy the SIM to fly from AIS. I used it very often already if I go abroad. And it's quite cheap, it's very speedy, and a huge volume you get. It's not to compare with the internet,
so you
Wi-Fi or the...
Yeah, you can use it on a ship?
I use it on ship if the ship in a harbor, of course.
And what is it again?
A SIM to fly from AIS. Everybody should check this on the internet or in the AIS shop.
There are people who do have withdrawals from the internet going on a ship. I mean, there are people that can't wait for the ship to dock so that they can get out and get online. I mean, you walk off the ship and there's not only the crew members, you can tell the crew members because they're the young guys, but all the guys that look like us are sitting there and going, come on, man, you're in the Caribbean. What are you doing online? What's the deal here? Go online. But there are people that really need it. I mean, they get addicted to it and they got to have it. It is?
I've got a second question here.
Okay.
No other questions?
It's only 329 bucks for the flights.
Oh, there you go.
No, Raj. Really enjoyed your talk.
Thanks, John.
One thing you haven't mentioned, the cost of obviously on the boat or ship. So
How do you get there, right?
Yeah.
Cost of getting.
What's the cost of that?
Well, again, if you're cheap, Charlie, and you're pretty good on the internet, I use Expedia a lot, sometimes Agoda for rooms, but we're flying Scoot to get to this cruise in Tokyo, and I think the airplane was $175 for a 6-hour ride to Tokyo. I upgraded our seats, put us in the quiet zone. That cost me an extra 1,000 baht per person. And I upgraded our weight because we're going to be gone so long. I gave us 25 Ks, that cost another 500 baht per person. But I think the total cost was like $185 each for the three of us, per person, to get there. So it's not bad. My flight out of Vancouver to where I live is $152 on American. I normally go United, but I didn't want to do standby this time. You get standby, you get stuck at the airport, I didn't want to do it. So $150, which is a steal, I'm going to get on an American flight, which takes me to where I want to go.
Thank you, Roger. Great talk.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Roger, that was magnificent. I can't wait to go on my next cruise. We have this nice certificate of appreciation for you. You must be able to walk over the wall just about. Okay, thank you, Roger.